transformation is definitely a constant theme in marketing. And one of the areas where we're seeing this is the rapid evolution of the role of the CMO. Based on data we've seen in our B2B benchmarking report, this is likely the result of the economic, cultural, and technological shifts happening rapidly around us, with the role of the CMO increasing in influence and impact, and being leaned on increasingly to drive measurable impact to the bottom line. The path to the CMO is also more nuanced than it's been previously. Our next guest is no stranger to transformation, both within IBM, where he is currently the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer, and throughout his career. We're delighted to welcome Jonathan Adashek, CCO and SVP of Marketing and Communications at IBM, to our LinkedIn studio in Cannes. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Thrilled to have you. So you were initially brought to IBM as the Chief Communications Officer, similar path to mine, and then assumed the role of CMCO. How did that role evolve to include the marketing?
You know, it was an interesting evolution because it was one I'd never really thought about, but it was one that Arvind, our CEO, asked me if I'd be willing to take it on because my predecessor decided that they wanted to pursue other options outside the company. And Arvind really said what communications and marketing are trying to do are very, very similar. In reality, it is. We're both trying to tell stories, and we're both trying to influence our clients, our customers. And so he said, will you take them on? And at the point it was, take on marketing and you've got communications and run the two separate teams. But before too long, I went to him and I said, I think we've got to put the two teams together. And that's really how it came about.
That's awesome. Well, I chuckle because I have a mentor who likes to remind me a quote earlier on. I was like, I will never be the head of marketing. I will never do marketing. He's like, Mel, how'd that play out for you?
Yeah, exactly.
So how has the journey been bringing the two different disciplines together? And what have you seen benefit? Have there been challenges?
Oh, for sure. There are lots of challenges. But I would say it's been a great journey. It's something that we rolled out to the team last November. Okay. Spent a lot of time as a leadership team trying to put it together. And when I introduced it to everybody, I said, it's not going to be perfect. Yeah. I readily acknowledge that, but I think it's in a really good spot for us to work from. Yeah. So, getting the two teams to work together and understand what the other does. Because marketers don't necessarily understand what communicators do, and communicators don't necessarily understand what marketers do. And I don't know about you, but as a communicator, I didn't have access or exposure to all of the demand data that's out there that we look at as an organization. So getting them to speak the same language has been a challenge, but it's been one I think that's been going well. And getting everybody onto a similar set of metrics and goals has been something that's really been a great focus for us. But we do see that we get exponential results when the two teams are working together.
I can agree more. It's been a fun journey to learn the marketing discipline. I'm sure you feel the same way. And I feel like I'm still 4 years in, but really early innings in learning it, but have enjoyed it. And I think what you said about just having a joint North Star makes a huge difference. So our CEO, Ryan Woslansky, is really clear that our job is to communicate the value of LinkedIn to all of our audiences. So to your point, shared goal between marketing and communications, and to drive demand. And I think, again, both teams owned that, but never really saw that they owned both sides of it. So it's been fun. So I know that you are passionate about kind of the full funnel, so bringing brand, demand, and a whole way through. And so I want to dig a bit deeper, because we found that 52% of CMOs said their biggest change in their job was driving more revenue, and 90% of them felt good about it, which is a great sign. So I'm curious how you're seeing your organization adapt to this need to drive more revenue for the company.
I said a long time ago, I want to see zero daylight between our function and the sales and consulting team. And to get there, that means the team really becoming trusted advisors to our internal clients and to our internal partners. And part of that is understanding the revenue goals, understanding where that revenue comes from and what it takes to get there. And it's something that I'll tell you that I still ask lots of questions about how we're getting there when we're talking about an MQL versus an SQL versus, proposed plus, whatever the things are. And I do it in front of people. because I want people to feel comfortable asking those same questions, because I know that the guy I ask the questions to is like, I just answered this for him last week. But every time I'm like, part of this is me just making sure other people understand and that they can ask questions too.
Well, I love that you're modeling that learning journey, because the pace at which everything's changing, we're all learning. And if we're not constantly learning and it doesn't feel safe to learn, we're going to fall behind.
Agree.
So I'm curious about, we've seen in our data really positive signs just about the influence of the CMO role in the C-suite. And one specific relationship, which is interesting to me, is the CFO. And so I'm curious, as we take on more and more revenue opportunity, that's a super positive. The flip is we hear from more and more CMOs that the CEOs and CFOs still don't understand how to think about brand and invest in brand. In fact, 1 in 5 said that only 1 in 5 felt like their CEO, CFO really understood how to think about investing in brand. So how have you built this relationship with your CFO, and how's it going? Any tips that you would share?
Well, I would start by just saying I'd be one of those 5 on the CEO point. For sure. Arvind understands it. Like he's an advocate for it. And our CFO and I get along really well, and we have some really transparent conversations about what's going well and what's not going well. And I actually have proactively gone to him and said, let me and my team walk you through our data on a regular basis so you see where we are before we go into a meeting. I don't want you getting caught off guard. And he was like, let me do this on a weekly basis, because I want to get a better understanding and I want to see it through your eyes as well, because otherwise he gets the funnel through his team.
Totally.
And so that transparent view, I think, has been very helpful. Now, I love Jim, our CFO, but Jim's still going to come to me if times are tight and say, everybody, there hasn't been a company I haven't found yet that's not like looking at how they save money and how do they get more productivity. And Jim will come to me right away and say, hey, what can we do here? But we all got to lean in and do that kind of stuff.
And I think that's key, right? Like we're leaders of the business alongside your Jim, my James. But I wonder if there's a new generation of CFOs, because I feel the same relationship with the CFO, where I appreciate the curiosity. And what was interesting in our data is that 60% of CFOs were confident in marketing's ability to drive business more than CMOs, which I found fascinating. And so I think it is this, like, I think there's a genuine belief, there's a genuine interest, and when you can tap into that and not see it as adversarial, but see it as a partner relationship, I think the dividends seem to be really good for the business.
I couldn't agree more. And I think a key thing for us has been we've gotten to a set of metrics that we report, the good, the bad, the ugly. And those metrics what we're reporting doesn't change week to week.
That's so smart. And it's a shared language too.
Exactly.
We can't tell them to speak in MQLs and SQLs if they want a different language too.
Exactly.
So how about the rest of the C-suite? How have you thought about building strategic relationships and influencing the rest of the C-suite?
As I said before, I want to be a trusted partner. I want my team to be trusted advisors to the businesses that they support, and I've got to do that. I've got to lead by example there, but part of that is also the change. When you do a change in transformation, that means certain things are going away and certain things are being added. The going away stuff is the hardest part. So I have tried both when I did the transformation in communications and now with marketing and communications coming together, I have tried to be, for lack of a better term, the tip of the spear, right? Provide the air cover that my team needs to deliver the hard messages to my peers on the ELT and to their direct reports one level below, so they understand where the decisions are coming from. And that has, I think, been very helpful. Maybe I had a week of complaining after one thing, and it was limited complaining, but it really went away quickly.
Well, and I think if you frame it in why it's the right decision for the business, again, business leader first, functional leader second, I think is the more and more the answer. So let me zone in a little bit on B2B, because our results from our benchmarking study were actually, surprisingly to me, really bullish for B2B. So 50% of B2B leaders saw their budgets up last year, and 60% expect their budgets to be up next year. And so I'm curious, does that ring true with you? And then what are you kind of bullish about in the world of B2B when you look out at marketing in the year ahead?
For me, on the budget side, I think we've been flat. I think we'll go up. my team, some people on my team think I'm a little crazy, but you know, I'm like, this is what we've got to do, and we've got to lay out the case for it, and then there's a good reception when you lay out the case. But there's also only X number of dollars that any company has, and I get the trade-offs, just like I have to make trade-offs within my budget. What am I bullish for? I think the amount of data that we have on a B2B basis now, and the ability to segment that data and really get much more specific about where we're going and who we're serving the data to, where, when, and how, I think that's going to be really interesting. And then I think as AI comes through not just through businesses, but through our functions, I think it's going to change how our functions operate. And it's going to also impact how our teams work. And I think we have an obligation to make sure we're providing the skills for our teams to thrive in this new environment as well. But I'm really excited about what it's going to bring to us.
So you brought up the buzzword. I think I'm only
Skills?
a few hours into Cannes, but skills and AI. So how are you approaching it across your team?
So I think we're still in the early days, but we're looking at, we've been using AI as it relates to our data for a long time. But we're looking at how do we use AI on our content and our content supply chain. We've got a lot of events we do every year, and that is a key part of our client interest approach. How do we use AI to better model what events we go to, where we don't go, and then get the data from those events and process it? How do we use it on social better? How do I use it in the operations of the organization overall? Is a big push. So I think that's just some of the examples, but I think there are pieces across the organization that will keep popping up, because every time I have a conversation, it's like one new thing. There's a new use case. Somebody said to me the other day, we're actually looking at a way to use AI to self-heal our website, IBM.com. And this just sort of came up because somebody's like, wait, couldn't we do this and this? And you're like, hey, let's give it a shot.
Totally. We formed an AI working group across marketing that has representatives from every function so that we can ideate. And when these ideas pop up, we can kind of share them and try and create some amount of alignment, but just continue to build the learning and the interest. So would you say that the vibe across your team is more excited about AI, more nervous?
Excited.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're in a bit of a different place because the goal for us is to be the leading a hybrid cloud and AI company.
Totally.
So we want to embrace the products that we use and the services that we have. So I was just in Romania with my team there, and everybody was really excited about what AI was going to bring to the team and how it was going to change the work we could do and how much better we could get.
Agree. I would say the same for us. So, well, Jonathan, it was such an absolute pleasure. I think we obviously have such a shared history, but I think more than ever what I take away is the role of CMO as a business leader first, and what that can mean for the business and the function going forward. So I look forward to watching your journey.
Thanks for having me. And, I learned a new phrase here. I'll share it with you.
Okay.
I'm sliving. That's what we all need to do.
Slaying and living. Oh, my 14-year-old will love that.
Picked it up from Paris Hilton earlier.
All right.
This can't be.
Sliv on.
This is the best.
Sliv on.